What's going on, everybody? I made another channel. This is my second channel. And I'm going to tell you right now, just don't expect anything special here because this is literally just going to be where I vent, shoot the shit and just say whatever's on the top of my mind. Kind of using this channel as a pressure reliever pretty much, just a place of vent cuz I don't really know what to do sometimes, and talking makes me feel a lot better, and I don't always have anybody, well, I don't always have people to speak to. So, and this is going to be raw and uncut, so minimal editing. And the reason I made this is because I just don't know what to do. Quick background on me: I did videography for a long time, about 8 years. I have some experience with producing video and audio. I did some photography, dabbled in it a little bit. And I got to the point where I don't really know what to do. It's almost like a lot of trade skills, a lot of different types of people who are artisans or experts just aren't needed anymore in this type of society. And I could complain about that on another video, but that's the reason I'm here. And the disclaimer was just, hey, that, I'm not here to bring value to everybody. That's nearly impossible for me. And it's a lot of pressure and a lot of effort, and a lot of other people that genuinely don't bring value or valued a lot more than me at this point. So there's no reason to try and compete with people who are already useless. But hey, you saw the title. 8 years in the camera industry and I'm done. Now, I don't mean done as in I'm done, because I'm always going to be a creative. It's in my blood. I can't stop doing this stuff. I love it. I like expressing myself that way. What I'm saying is I'm done trying to make money off of it. I'm done trying to, meet deadlines, appease people, meet in the middle, give people a really good product. I'm losing the motivation to try and make someone else's dream come true. So I'm getting more, stimulation and support from my inner friend group for just, making stuff like this. It might not send ripples, butterfly effects through the, stream of consciousness we're all attached to, but I'm doing what I can, essentially. Now, I'm a guy who does better with notes, so sometimes I try to have notes, but this is just an off-the-rip video just to, set everything off, because, setting up this channel, just deciding to do this was a wacky, whimsical thing that I just decided to do on Christmas Eve. I was working at my job. I work at a grocery store, and I was like, man, I hate it here so much. And the only way I can really blow off steam is when I make something or I go to the gym. And, gym's closed, gonna be closed on Christmas. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna record something like this, and we'll go from there. Yeah. So 8 years in the camera industry, and I'm done. Point number one. I'm burned out on the fake innovation that we got going right now. Everything feels samey. There's only 3 types of sensors that are used for videography. There's more types, but I don't feel like getting into the nitty gritty. I'm gonna have that guy like that. Actually in the comments and shit. Bro, shut the fuck up. I don't give a shit, dude. I've been doing this longer than you probably. We got the same Micro Four Thirds sensors. We got the same Super 35 sensors. We got the same full frame sensors. For those of you that don't know what that means, they just get bigger, okay? We got small sensors, we got big sensors. And every year, some new camera model comes out. And it's just the same thing, dude. It's the same sensor. I don't care if it's got a new codec it could shoot in. If it could, I don't care if the camera can make me a fucking sandwich at this point, okay? These brands are just so hyper consumerist that they are so dependent on people just buying their slop. The best example of slop, if you want to go look at it right now, is going to be the Sony A7C. What a dog shit camera body. It doesn't do anything new or innovative. It doesn't need to exist. It just doesn't need to exist. That's an example, okay? I'm not going to sit here and justify that, because you could go look at the specs yourself and figure it out for yourself, but that's my example. And these camera companies, it doesn't matter if it's Canon, Sony, Nikon, Fuji, I think Fuji's not exactly as guilty as those others, and Blackmagic is not guilty either. But there's just always some camera body they release that's just garbage. And the only reason they're able to push this shit is because of the stupid piece of shit gurus that push this shit all the time. And I'm tired of that. That's the only reason it's held up. And what I'm praying for, what I would love to see happen, is if they just had long-term support for just one type of camera body and they locked in and committed to making this camera body better. An example I could give you guys is what they did with the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema series of cameras. No one even knew there was a gyro stabilizer in them for years. And then all of a sudden, boom, they snap their fingers and there's a gyro stabilizer in it. And basically that makes your footage stable. And it was always in there, and it was an upgrade that they had been working on. They just never released it, and they just added so much more value to a camera that you already bought. That is just forward thinking right there. That is perfect. That's insane. I would love to see more of that. What else do I have on this little sheet of paper I have? Okay, so the gear makes you better thing has been circulated forever. I'm not here to argue on either side. I'm just here to tell everybody that says that shit or like wants to have that conversation is a fucking moron. You're a sub 70 IQ piece of shit, monkey brained, like dude with a tire iron lodged in the cog work in his head, hamster's dead, not even running on the wheel type of dude, bro. That is so dumb. I'm gonna give you my base take on this, okay? This is my base take. Here's a third option. How about the individual using the gear itself makes it better? You can get smoked by somebody with a film camera if you're a photographer. If you're average and you have a really modern camera and there's somebody that knows what they're doing and they're shooting on film, right? And they know what they're doing, their pictures are just going to look objectively better than yours and they're going to make you look small. So this gear makes you better thing, or does gear make you better thing? It's not, no question, dude. It's just a matter of skill. Park the same gear in both creatives' hands and see how they do, you know? Give them the same gear, see what happens. If you level the playing field there, it doesn't matter, or it gets a lot wider. Like the bridge, the gap between the, skill becomes so much wider. There used to be people that made YouTube videos on this. I think Parker Walbeck is one of the worst examples. Hundreds of thousands of views. And that's another issue I had, because those videos don't serve a purpose. They don't add value. Okay. They're not there to help you with anything. They're just there to pit two people against each other. And it's meant to be entertainment. It's not even infotainment. I remember watching those when I was new and I was like, what's the point of this? I've always been cynical, but why do I need to watch two people duke it out? And it's almost like this cock measuring contest, like who's more creative, who's the guy that's new with the red Komodo, or the dude that is really experienced with the less impressive camera. Of course, the dude that's more experienced is gonna body you no matter what. Okay, that's just so dumb. It's just like maybe the consumers, maybe the people that are around, they have just consumed so much fluoride and red 40 and goy slop that they've just regressed to the point where they're able to be entertained like those people that were from that one movie. What was it? Idiocracy. Swear that movie's like coming together. I think they used Crocs in that movie, and then Crocs became popular. Now that I think about it, oh my gosh, I think I'm correct. Someone, did correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they bought Crocs for that set on the movie because they thought those shoes were so ugly, and they were like, oh, dumb people in the future are just gonna be so into these because they're stupid. You know what? I need to go back to the subject. Back to what I was talking about. So I'm sick of this YouTube gear culture thing. There's reviews made by people who are on YouTube that have never been under pressure for deadlines or been in any sort of chaos. They're in a nice, neat little lab that they've set up in their house, and they're testing gear and testing the limits. And I love that. That's great. You should be doing that as a creative. But using that to try and pivot and convince buyers to, upgrade or switch camera platforms or switch anything is just toxic. I think that's so stupid. These big companies, and I mean, Sony and Canon and everyone can fight me on this, but dude, a diverse amount of options, right? With different platforms of camera is good. Now, this might be counterintuitive. You might think, Matt, why? Why did you just say earlier that so many different camera bodies is bad, but then different camera manufacturers is good? Well, competition drives innovation. That's just what happens all the time. Okay, that's how this country, you know, industrialized. That's pretty much how we industrialize. We, innovation, being competitive, all this other stuff. So Sony has the great autofocus. Canon has great colors. Fujifilm has the, out of camera filmic type of stuff. And, Nikon, actually, I can't say anything about Nikon. I don't know anything about Nikon, to be honest. Like, Nikon people are always accused of, bird watching and taking pictures of birds and being, a bunch of old creeps. So I'm sorry about you guys. If anyone owns a Nikon camera in the comments and wants to tell me how cool Nikon cameras are, go ahead. I'm so open to that. I'm not going to bash you, but that's just how it looks on the optics on the outside. Okay. So, let's just roll it back real quick. On top of the gurus just being, a bunch of retards and saying that, you need to constantly purchase new stuff and buy new stuff in order, be relevant or, be better at your job. We have to realize there's two different types of creatives. Okay. There's the boots on the ground problem solvers and there's the desk bound workflow purists. And I love people who have a good editing workflow. I like those people who are anchored to their desk and they're really good editors, okay? But the problem is when they try to market themselves as something else than what they are. So I'm sorry, dude, if you're sitting at your desk all day and you're sitting inside of your little science lab office and you're giving tech reviews all the time, I wouldn't say I'm a cinematographer or a videographer. You're not outside. You don't go outside, okay? I'm pretty sure you've never put an ND filter on your camera and you don't even know what an ND filter is, and you've never walked outside and had to, shoot in humidity, shoot in the rain, shoot in blistering heat, any of that, okay? So I don't really give a fuck about you giving, your reviews in a very, very quiet environment where there's no pressure. That's stupid, okay? You should stick to what you're good at. You should probably just educate people on how to edit better. And that's just so honest. Why do you have to market yourself as anything but what you are? Then we have the guys who are actually outside doing this stuff. And I'll tell you something about those guys. Those guys aren't posting on YouTube. They're outside so often and working for people so often that they are constantly trying to improve themselves so much that they don't have time to invest in everybody else and see what they're doing and try and get everyone to buy what they're on and stuff. And occasionally there's people that blow up that do that. And I follow them and they're fantastic. They're super cool, really down to earth people. And you can see the attitude is so much different than people who, love stroking it in front of you. Oh, look at how much cameras I have, dude. Look at all this stuff I have. Oh my God. Yeah, it's fucking so good, dude. You should totally buy this. We don't care, dude. No one has the money for that shit. And it's already a niche interest already. So let's just not, dude. And there's no such thing as an end game camera. Okay. There's forks in the road, but there's no end game. There's no finish line. You always get better at what you're doing. And nobody talks about this, okay? You can finally evolve to your final form, like I'm Super Saiyan 4 now. And you get the camera that's best for your workflow. But there's no objective camera that's the best. I could argue that there are some cameras that objectively can do better because they have more specs or more opportunities and maybe something that was from like years back, right? But it's even then, there's impurities and there's characteristics in certain pieces of gear. And if somebody knows how to work around it and work with it, it makes them really dangerous. It makes them really good. And that's the good news. The good news is there's no finish line. Imagine there being a finish line and then it's like, this is it, bro. Like you got the best camera and this is all you can do with it. You've seen the universe and its secrets. Yeah, I'm sorry, but in that type of world, I don't want to live in that world, bro. I don't want to be there. I want to constantly improve. I want to constantly be a better man, a better creative. And that's just always going to be a possibility because, like I said, if we had more innovation, if we had more competitive innovation, that would be even crazier now, which leads me into my next point. Color grading is another thing that I noticed ever since I started 8 years ago. That was such an unexplored topic because a bunch of people that were very unsophisticated didn't know jack shit about it, were trying to educate other people how to do it. And they weren't actually educating other people how to color grade. They were educating them on how to color balance, which is a completely different process. And I'm not going to be the I'm actually guy, right? But I won't call something a color that it isn't, right? We don't walk outside and say the sky's green. I mean, unless you're colorblind, and I'm sorry for you. And if, but other than that, right? The thing is that there are two different types of colorists too. So on top of figuring out whether you're balancing or color grading, or if you've been misled by one of these jackoffs, there's people who sit down, like are the people who aren't boots on the ground and edit in an office all day in their, science laboratory room, and they're really good at what they do, and they're used to editing footage that is perfect. It's 12-bit, it's raw, and they have their own types of workflows. And we can aspire to be like that, but in the reality, there's a fork in the road. You're either going to be a boots on the ground person who shoots a lot of chaotic footage, and you're going to have to get really good at making a bunch of different types of footage shot in different environments match. Or you're going to be one of those people that locks in and you're a colorist and you're by yourself in your room and you're working on projects sent to you remotely or maybe forwarded to you on a hard drive, right? There isn't a better of the two. People don't differentiate between those two types of people. It's not like you have to choose and you're on a team. It's more or less like your entire workflow will revolve around one of those two things. And there's people that are in the boots on the ground approach that take a lot of footage that don't really know how to do it as well as somebody who's sitting on their desk all day and know all the little details that really come with it. And they're trying to sell other people assets and tell them like, oh, I know how to do this and stuff. It's scammy. It's stupid. I'm calling it out. I'm saying everybody that has done that all the way up until this point in time, they're all a bunch of morons. They suck. They made their money. Y'all got fleeced, and there's nothing I can do about it, but it doesn't mean I didn't notice it, and I didn't get fleeced because I'm a cynical guy and I was very careful, and I pick and chose who I was listening to, and I taught myself a lot of what I know when it comes to this stuff, and I really just hope that you guys maybe scrutinize what I say, or you are like, hey man, like, you're full of shit and I don't believe you, which is fine. Like, like that you could totally disagree with me. And you could be one of those people, like one of those, Gen Zs that has a fucking A7 IV. You're on TikTok all the time and you like seeing all the little cute edits and shit like that. You don't know how to tell a story. Go ahead, be one of those people. But by all means, right? You should probably take a thing or two from what I'm saying and just like put it in your pocket and, take it with a grain of salt and see from my optics, from my side, how much bullshit there is out there. How many people trying to sell you some shit that you don't need? Which leads me into my next complaint. So these LUTs, these courses, these presets, these cinematic looks, and all these marketed cheat codes that you usually get in your suggestions, they're all bullshit too. A lot of the stuff that you're being sold can be done. And let's just say, do you really want to pay $60, or would you rather spend an hour of your time learning how to do something the right way and then possibly be able to reiterate that to someone else and save them time and cause a cascading effect in the industry where everyone's helping each other out? Or do you want to be a piece of shit and gatekeep that process and then sell it to somebody else and give them enough information so that they understand how to use it but not maintain it? And for those of you that play Warhammer, it's almost getting to the point where we're like the fucking Adeptus Mechanicus, bro. We use all this technology and we don't even fucking know how to maintain it. Like, oh, we have these pipelines and these processes and these assets that these other people gave us, but we don't really know how they made them. We don't really know how to put it back together if it breaks. If it breaks, we're just screwed. Oh, we don't have the STC, so fuck it, bro. We just gotta abandon ship. Nah, fuck that, bro. Like, I'd much rather just, put my nose on the grindstone, figure this out, and go from there. Oh yeah, and my next complaint is the longer you stay in this, dude, and the more open your eyes are, the more cynical you get. And to be cynical is to be right. And not right as in righteous. I'm saying right as in you just realize what the right opinion is to have on certain things, having restraint when it comes to making decisions and just being a little bit more grounded and realistic when it comes to passing judgment on things. And I could sound very jaded, but I'm saying like to offset the massive amount of positive scammy bullshit that we've dealt with, I'm sitting here and I'm like, dude, like someone's got to fucking say something at this point. And guess what? A faceless YouTube channel is perfect. I'm just literally going to sit here and rant. So here I am. We all love the craft and we hate the machine, essentially, I would like to say. we like what we do. We just don't like how things are implemented. So we got this massive like cascading, pipeline of, the big industry giants that develop the gear are using a bunch of uneducated, stupid people to peddle the stuff. And since so much of it sells, it reinforces that metric that they're using. And then you just get this machine that never stops spitting out stuff that we don't need. And we stopped, really developing with our minds, and we're leaning too much on the technology. For those of you that have played Bloodborne, this really reminds me of that dude. What was his name? Master Willem. He was like, we need eyes on the inside of our brain and stuff like that. And then have Lawrence and that's arguing with him, going, oh, I'm just gonna shoot up Tren, and we're gonna turn it. We're gonna evolve because we got Tren and we got anabolics and stuff. And well, I mean, it wasn't Tren, but you get the idea. Like, it's like using the stuff you have as a crutch is dumb, and it sounds stupid when I put it like that. But everybody's just buying into it because of the way it's sold and the way it's talked about and the way that it's projected, essentially. Because why am I ranting instead of educating? You're probably just wondering that right now too. I love educating when something's easy to really talk about, and pass by word of mouth. I do that, but there's just so much noise now that it drowns out my voice and anyone else that's genuinely trying to help. So the only way I was able to overcome being scammed was other people complaining, ironically, that I saw on YouTube videos. In fact, last week I saw a dude complaining about, clients, and there's just the shit he had to deal with, and he wasn't, sugarcoating anything. He was just ripping into people and how they behave. And I was sitting there, I'm like, man, that helped me a lot. I've seen other people like that a while back, and he's probably helping people right now just by pointing the problem out, and people can figure out the problems for themselves and make up their own solutions. So, relying on me to be the arbiter of, delivering you from your issues is probably not going to be the best bet. I can help people, but pointing out issues and complaining about them, well, being able to articulate myself like this is probably the best way I'm going to be able to do this. Also, as a closing note, guys, don't quit cameras, don't quit your art, quit the illusion that surrounds it. Just don't get misled. That's the biggest takeaway I have from this. Don't get misled. Keep your head on a swivel. If you don't know something, if you're frustrated, it's because you haven't come across the exact tool or idea you needed. And I believe personally that we don't create as artists. So we don't genuinely create everything. We manifest ideas. We pull what already exists from this world, from the ether, and bring it out. And I genuinely think that, God gives us these ideas. God gives us these opportunities. And maybe you're not Christian. Maybe you don't have the same beliefs as me, but you can genuinely tell that there's a higher power that speaks through us and gives us these things. And it just doesn't feel like anybody who's making money off this right now is connected to any of that. And that's basically what my overarching argument is. All the stuff I complained about just culminates to, hey, man, we're not all connected anymore. We're not having conversations that are open. We're not falling in love with the equipment we have. We're not treating it with a lot of care. And we're just trying to screw each other by selling information as if it's some sort of cheat code or hack that's going to make us better, because we need to constantly make other people feel insecure about their capabilities. Yeah. All right, dude. Well, that was my rant for today, and I'll see you guys later. This is my channel, Open Frequency, now, and I'm just gonna roll with this. Peace.